Hey guys, welcome to Freedom Isn't Free. I'm here today with Mr. Robert Bodell. It's been a while since I've streamed on this channel and was kind of bored, wanting something to do. And I know Mr. Bodell's been needing a little bit of help, and I know that Bodell group kind of died off, and his case got won, but well, dropped, I would say. And what I'd like to do is maybe see if I can't stir up the hornet's nest a little bit and get a few people, maybe send some letters to the Goldwater Institute and the Institute for Justice and stuff like that, and see if we can't shake the tree a little bit and see if we can't get Mr. Bodell some help. Um, Robert, I know a little bit about, you losing your PCA and stuff, and it generally takes about people 15 minutes to work in here. So okay, am I back?
Yeah, I hear
Accident.
you.
I accidentally booted myself out there for a minute. Um, I knew it was going to happen. It's been a while. I took pretty much the summer off. I had things to attend to, kind of deal, so I just kind of disappeared. And let me see if I
Yeah, I
can't.
was wondering what happened to you.
Yeah, just I kind of had to fall off the face of the earth, man. I got a lot of problems going of my own, man, and I'm kind of like you. I don't have any family up here or stuff, so sometimes you just kind of got to retreat back and to the stronghold and do the best you can. Hey, there's Miss Joyce McDermott, so I know we're live. Oh, and Peachy came in. Thank you so much, Peachy. Guys, I know this channel is really small, so if you guys wouldn't mind sharing this out with your friends, that would be really, really appreciated. Um, we're just going to do a little live tonight, maybe catch up with Mr. Robert here. And if you guys just came in, we're going to try and shake the tree a little bit and see if we can't get a few people revved up to maybe see if we can't get Mr. Bodell a little bit of help. He's lost his PCA help, so he's not able to fill out some forms and whatnot like that. So I'm no good with paperwork at all. Otherwise, I'd dive into it, but that's probably my biggest weakness is paperwork. And so hopefully we can get a few people that were involved with that Mr. Bodell group, maybe start making a few phone calls, maybe shooting off some ideas or oh, oh, hopefully that's not okay. There's there's chat. Sorry guys, I'm trying to drive. I'm going to throw the link, Joyce, or if anybody in chat, if you guys want to come up, you're feel free to welcome. Peachy, I know you're sitting down to dinner, so uh, I sent Lady Di and a couple other people a message. This isn't going to be a big shit show stream. I don't do that on this channel. This channel was always dedicated just to kind of 1A stuff, and it was kind of built because of Mr. Bodell. Well, I had it before, but it tried to where I get everything to happen format. So I'm going to see if I can't see if maybe NC Tyrant Hunter will come in. So let me post this link and pin it, and then I'm going to try and share this to a couple of people. There's a link if anybody wants to come up And then let me grab the channel link, and then I'll start sending it to a few people. But anyways, Robert, why don't you let people know kind of where you're at, what's been happening with you, anything that happened with, that you want to talk about with this case of yours. I got your links on the news that just came out. If anybody hasn't seen those videos, it finally made the news, but it took a while. Yeah, it took a while. And I would say I wasn't real impressed with the news. I mean, I get it that, they're kind of in a catch-22 with what they got to deal with, but I thought it was kind of BS. Whenever they were saying that you were the aggressor, they kind of let that guy go with saying you were the aggressor kind of deal. I'm like, come on, go listen to the audio and stuff that you could access. But you know how it is.
Yeah, it's
Unfortunately,
pretty obvious what really happened.
right? Yeah, and then of course, the state troopers are going to say, "Oh, he did no wrong," blah blah blah, because they don't want the lawsuit, right? Because
Oh, yeah.
basically, if they admit that they terminated him on grounds of that whole deal, then they're kind of admitting some fault and liability there. So of course they're going to say he did nothing wrong.
Did I send you the emails to Mike 𝐢𝐬𝐧'𝐭 after that conversation I posted on the internet?
I'm not sure, Robert. I'm not sure. If it was
Well,
within the last couple of months, probably not.
oh yeah, this is in the last couple of weeks. On my YouTube channel, there's a video up there. It's actually an audio recording. I snuck an audio recording in my pocket into a meeting with Michael 𝐢𝐬𝐧'𝐭, who is now the acting commander since Maurice Hughes got a raise and moved up to Anchorage.
Oh, really?
Mike 𝐢𝐬𝐧'𝐭 was in charge of the cover-up. So in that meeting, I brought up these edited audio files that I got from the public defender's office, and an email from the public defender's office saying that they came from the prosecutor's office, along with an email with a recording from my public defender saying that she was not going to ask for the unedited files.
Really?
And on that recording, Mike 𝐢𝐬𝐧'𝐭 asked me to send him those files. And in a email to him to his alaska.gov email address are those 3 audio files. And I mentioned to the state statutes that require the audio files to be in one complete, unedited, no breaks file. And then I have a reply from him verifying that he has the files and that he just overlooked the fact that there were sections missing out of it. He just said the parts that I submitted were exactly as original, and that he wasn't going to do anything about it. So I got it in writing from him that he's not going to do anything about it and that he has those files. So then I have another email that I sent to him explaining exactly, that I had that meeting with the intent of recording him, to get him on record and that he has those files and he's not doing anything about it. So now it's documented that he is involved in the cover-up.
Right.
And that's in his Alaska.gov email box too. He can't delete that.
Jeez. It's ridiculous. I was dealing with the DEC here this last week on groundwater issues because I know a thing or two about fracking and I've been in petroleum for a better part of 30 years, and blue tint started showing up and etching into the toilet in my porcelain, man. And I'm like, and then all of a sudden here about a month ago, my dogs refused to drink the water out of the faucet. And whenever I was a kid, my grandfather always told me, if your dogs won't eat it or drink it, you better not either. And so I knew they had fracked in a couple of new wells, and so been trying to make some phone calls, blah blah blah, and I already got a sample sent out of state because I know how that is. If it's going to be sent in state, as well as I do, it's going to disappear. Or, oh yeah, it was fine, So I'm sending it out to some labs out of state, and then that way, whenever I get their results, I'm going to have something to compare them to. And hello, Miss Lady Di. If you'd like to come up, I think I pinned the link at the top. Anybody's more than welcome to come up. I tried sharing this with a few people. So for the guys that just walked in a little bit late, if you guys don't mind sharing that with your friends, this is the little channel. So it would be highly appreciated if you guys send this out to your friends or somebody you may know that might be interested. Because like I said, we're going to try and shake the tree a little bit and see if we can get a few people maybe interested. Oh, I need to send one to Aaron too. Hang on just a second. You finally get your scanner working?
Yeah, I got something here I'm trying to turn off here.
All right. Let me see. I'm trying to send this out. I send it to AK Lady and a few others. NC Tyrant Hunter just shot me a message back, and he said he'd probably pop in here shortly. So hopefully he'll come up. I don't know if you've had a chance to talk with him in a while.
Been a while.
I know he's pretty busy with that big channel of his, so I know he stays pretty busy. So it'd be pretty cool if he's able to pop in and say hi. I know he swings a hell of a bigger stick than I do. So
yeah, I haven't seen him for a while. I would like to see him again.
Yeah, it's a good dude. I'm a horrible multitasker. Oh, wait. I got a next victim in the back. Hang on just a second. There's Miss Lady Di.
Howdy, 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 howdy.
Hey, Miss Lady Di.
Yeah, I gotta turn some lights on. It's getting dark in here.
Okay. Sound like you're in a tunnel, so you must be away from your mic.
I had to turn some lights on. I had to go across the room. Sorry about that. Well, you're looking a lot better, Mr. Bodell, than you did last time I saw you.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Apparently, he's not getting my link. All right. Hopefully he got it that time. Oh shit. Gosh darn it. Me and my fat fingers. Lady Di, if I kick myself out, you're gonna probably have to take the reins for a little bit because I'm having technical difficulties here.
Yeah, that's okay.
So
I'm good at talking, so that's not a problem.
that you are. That's
Yeah.
for sure. So, Robert, how I know you've been having a few health issues. You doing all right, or doing a little rough?
Yes, not doing too good. Nothing
Yeah.
works anymore.
Did what was the deal with you losing your PCA help?
Well, they PCA services called and told me I was like a month from running out to call my doctor. And I called the doctor and they said they'd take care of it. And a couple of weeks later, the PCA services said they hadn't heard anything. So I called the doctor and they said they'd look into it. And somehow I got phone numbers mixed up and I was calling the wrong number. They said it was for that doctor, an answering service, but I could never get through to him and shit. I could never get a call back. And finally, some organization or something is getting involved. I don't know how they got involved. They're working with the VA now and trying to get it resolved and get it straightened out.
It's not what I want.
Oh, sorry about that. My mic was muted. I didn't realize my mic was muted. I'm trying to. Hey, if anybody is watching this and has NC Tyrant Hunter's contact info, could you please send him the link to the stream? He's trying to get here, and evidently he is not getting the links from me. So if somebody can send that to him, if somebody has that, that would be highly appreciated. And so let me see. I don't know why I can't get it to him.
I love it when a man stifles himself. Sorry, Wiley.
Right.
Women give birth, we look like idiots.
That's right.
Yeah.
Everybody has their place.
We're good. We're good at it too, though. You know, it's kind of like, you know how cats are. You know, if they're walking along the top of a fence and they fall off, they sit there and they act like they meant to do that. A dog, he just kind of falls off, hits a tree or the rock, and jumps up and just keeps going. Has no, you know, it's
Yep.
it's kind of funny how differences are. Maybe that's why men's always been called dogs and women's always been called cats.
There's NC Tyrant Hunter.
Oh, did he find it? Sweet.
Yeah, he's in the chat. He's in the
All right.
YouTube side.
So hopefully, yeah. Thank you for whoever sent it to him, because I was trying to get it to him and I have no idea. And see, it's pinned up on top. We're just doing a little, I'm just trying to stir up the hornet's nest a little bit. As you know, Mr. Bodell's case was dropped, so I'm trying to just maybe stir up some interest to see if maybe people might be interested in maybe chasing that incident to justice.
Peachy Ryder sent it to him.
Oh, sweet. Thank you, Peachy. Appreciate it so much. Yeah. I don't know why all of a sudden I couldn't send links anymore. Like, well, I just sent all this stuff out to everybody, and then why isn't it working? Okay, hopefully that'll be the last of my fat fingers, and I'll be able to get caught up in comments or something here in a second. It is pinned too, right? Okay, there it is. NC, thanks for coming in, man. I know you are a busy individual, and I know you probably ain't got a lot of time, but I appreciate you stopping by, brother. I really do. And you're one of the very few guys that has consistently shown out of the big channels, you know what I mean? Taking a little time out of the day to help a little guy. But it irritates me some of these guys forget that they started as little nobodies too, and a lot of them just started by something bad happening to them, like Mr. Robert happened, you know? And but I guess that's the way it is. And that's the way the difference in the 1A kind of community has changed today. It's you know, a lot of people are just straight 100% money driven. So, but anyways, Mr. Bodell, have you heard anything from the Goldwater Institute or the Institute of Justice at all?
I think the Institute of Justice said that there was nothing they could do at the moment, and one of them did, and the other one I didn't hear back from.
Yeah, that was the Institute of Justice said that while your criminal charges were pending, they would not look at it at all. So hopefully now would be a nice time to maybe start shaking a tree. We got a long winter ahead of us, and I'm glad that, you know, whenever I first
would you text me a reminder to do that?
Yeah, I can do that. I'm glad that, you know, whenever I first met you, I told you to kind of prepare to 3 to 5 years at probably worst case, you know, and I'm glad it happened a little bit quicker than what it could have, you know. So, but I think you know, watching that news report and watching the other troopers, one thing I'm really curious to know is all the other troopers that responded to that call, watching them break their policies and procedures in response just to your call. I'm curious to know what happened to them for breaking those policies and procedures, just going to the call. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. So, you know, I've been after a little bit of a project, so maybe that might be something to, you know, like I said, I'm already going to piss some people off with this DEC thing. So,
well, remember on if you look in the background check thing there on Brian Glenn, you'll see that he was a helicopter mechanic.
Yeah.
Now, if you're an aircraft mechanic and in the military, I mean, you are programmed to do what you're trained to do. You don't vary one iota. So
right.
Everybody there did what they were trained to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, and it's kind of unfortunate to see. I mean, you know, in a lot of ways, you were kind of lucky because the Alaska State Troopers, you know, 10, 15 years ago were just really, really bad. You know, whenever they killed that Casey Porter kid, they just flat refused to release any of the information on it. Even whenever the family sued and took them to court, they just refused to release the information on it. And what grounds they were able to keep that, I don't know. But that's basically what killed the lawsuit and stuff, is they just refused. And you know, something that was weird that came out of that, and I don't know if you've ever heard this, but I've been told that the Alaska State Troopers is actually a private entity that subcontracts for the state of Alaska, and that's why they didn't have to release the findings of that shooting with him back then. So I thought that was a pretty
It
interesting thing
it
I
doesn't
had read.
surprise me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it wouldn't
I
surprise me at
mean,
all.
what you see on TV is not the Alaska State Troopers.
No.
They're a bunch of armed thugs.
Yeah.
And
Well, I
when they
mean,
get when they get in trouble, they get what's known as time on the beach. That means a paid vacation. Administrative.
paid vacation for a job well done, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And then if they ever look at getting charges or anything, they give them a chance to quit just before the charges get leveled. And oh yeah, he moved, he left, blah blah blah.
That's what
Yeah,
they
all
do
they
with Glenn.
All they have
Yep.
to do is just move in the same states that they have their palm card with, their state creds with, and move in within the state, and they keep their police credentials. So
You know what? While I think about it, Brian Glenn is now in Tennessee.
Yep.
He just graduated from Tennessee Trooper School.
Yep.
He's still in training, so he's not on duty yet. He hasn't been issued a cell phone yet, but it's coming. And I understand there's a couple of auditors down there around Nashville. That's where he's going to be at, in Nashville. There's a couple of these First Amendment auditors around there that are just looking for him.
Yeah, they're going to find him.
And they're going to interview him.
I don't think he will. One thing that I'm curious to know about is I wasn't aware that there was another trooper that responded to your call that was a brand new trooper, and it was my understanding those guys had to roll with a FTO for like 6 months or so. And I've always surmised from day one that Brian Glenn's related to somebody, because all the brand new troopers, unless you're not politically connected, they get the shittiest jobs in the various outskirts of town. And it's seniority that gets what they call town jobs, which he had.
Well,
And
if you look at the troopers that are stationed in Soldotna, they're all new ones. I think Soldat is probably the sort of part of a training deal. Because if these troopers went out into the villages and stuff, I mean, they'd be shot the first day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they put them here to kind of, get them, broke in and get a leash on them, so they can turn them loose in the villages. Because if you remember here, just a couple of years back, they sent 2 officers in to get somebody, and they killed both of them.
Yeah. Well, there was a native guy I knew. There was a native guy I knew that got hired, and being native, they sent him right to the bush years ago. And whenever he came back, he had 14 counts of sexual allegations with minors against him.
Mm-hmm.
And all that ended up happening is they fired him, and none of the charges went forward. Or I don't even know if they fired him. Maybe he just quit. I don't know what. I'd be interested to look into that, because I mean, it wasn't like it was just 1 or 2. It was 14. You know
what his name was?
I think his last name was Tagliabue or something like that, or was it Samikin? I think it was Samikin was his last name.
Text me that or email that to me.
Yeah,
maybe somebody can track that down.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting one to dig in, and they've been covering up shit like that for years. I mean, that's just the way they are.
I know there's one page up there on corrupt troopers of Alaska police officials who have been decertified. It might be on there, and maybe we can figure out something there with a name.
there should be a site you guys can go to. I don't know about Alaska, but I know in the different states there's a site you can go to, and the county within the site. So I don't know what your counties are. I don't know how that works, but you should be able to see a picture and a name of every trooper that's on duty and licensed.
It's pretty hard to find
Yeah,
them up here,
there's
Lady
one
Di.
here up here in Alaska. It's alaska.gov// white pages. It's got everybody that's on the Alaska state payroll. It's got their Alaska email address and their Alaska state government issued telephone number.
You know, Robert, the easiest way I've tracked down the troopers is they all, and same way with all the cops except for APD, they all go through that facility down in 𝐢𝐬𝐧'𝐭, and that's where I've always gone to look for them. There is because they post their graduating class pictures online. I had never really found anything that states who's working where or anything like that. So that's where I had kind of looked them up before whenever I was digging
Well,
into
it could
that.
be that they got him before he graduated.
Yeah. Could be. I'm having a little bit of problems here. All right. Apparently NC's having a little trouble with his camera. So Joyce says, how about the one who killed the 16-year-old girl after he got drunk, then raped and killed him? Was that here, Joyce? Was that in Alaska? I mean, there's so much of it that it's you know, and I've said this a long time ago. I know everybody says, you know, the cops in Indiana are the worst, cops in Mesa are the worst, blah blah blah, and there's no doubt in my mind up here they are the absolute worst because they're just so far removed from everything, and the political scene up here is so screwed up with our, you know, our politics, our judicial, and our schools. It's just ridiculous.
Yep.
So I've always said this is one, and hopefully I was just talking to something politics wise. They're trying to get some things corrected in the judicial system up here, and hopefully that will happen. But I'm not holding my breath. That's for sure. That is for sure. And hey, Lady Di, just so you know, I'm not able to age restrict this stream right now,
Okay.
so
All right.
I'm just gonna have to run it as it is. So hopefully the idiot and his crew don't come over here messing around. Most of them didn't come to this channel because it's, you know, it's not a shit show channel.
Yeah.
So hopefully we don't have to worry about any of that. Yeah. Peachy, I had sent those two news deals to NC, and I think I'd send it out to Big Nick and a couple other guys, and whenever Robert had sent it to me, so I was pretty happy about that. But I didn't get part one until later, so hopefully everybody's seen that, because I didn't see part one at first. It took me a couple of days to find it. In some village, huh? Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, Joyce. Like I said, it happens around here a lot, bad, and there's I don't know that one's ever. Well, I think they just finally arrested one in the peninsula for raping somebody, or not, or he was hunting kids online or something, and I don't know who got him.
I'm surprised they done those predator hunters up here, because that's pretty common up here. That goes on a lot, especially out in the villages.
Yeah. Well, you know, whenever I very first came up here, Robert, it was classified as cultural, and they couldn't be prosecuted for child molestation.
Really?
Because it was classified as a cultural, and the way it worked is, if a hunter went out and killed something, he brought it back to the village, and you know, it gets divided up, and they send over boy, girl, whatever he requested to come over and say thank you, and that's why they couldn't be prosecuted for the longest time. And I think they changed that like back in the early '90s finally, as to where they could actually prosecute them for child molestation. But it's really rampant still to this day in a lot of the villages.
Yeah, I know. That's what I hear.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. And unfortunately, they don't want to do anything about it either because they say, "Oh, it's just culture with those people." No, it's against fucking law, man. And it's, as far as I'm concerned, they all ought to have their heads chopped off. I was telling Wendy, that me and her ought to sign up to be voluntary executioners. I'd travel the states for free, getting rid of all them bastards.
Really?
Yeah, right, Peachy. Yeah, it is, and that's the problem. And I know, Peachy, you feel a lot the same way as I don't think all cops are bad, but it's really discouraging whenever a station knows that they have one or two bad ones, and they just sit there and cover for them, and they don't get rid of them. You know what I mean?
Well, the good
And
ones don't stay because they're run out.
exactly.
That's the way it works, guys.
Yeah.
Well, if there was a good cop on the police force, he'd have already turned in all the bad ones. So there aren't any.
Right.
The good ones, if there's a good one and they don't go along with the bad ones and they don't go with the program, they don't get back up. They don't get
Yeah.
anything.
They don't get anything. They don't get pay raises. They don't get any of
Yep.
that stuff. So they basically chop their throat until they leave.
Yep.
Get tired of it and leave.
Yep.
And it's bass backwards of what the system should be. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And all they really care is who's writing tickets, who's getting the most DUIs, who's getting the most arrests. And
Yep.
even though they can't legally pay for that anymore, they don't pay per arrest like they used to way back in the old days, but they give it they call it a performance promotions, where they get extra money for writing more tickets, writing more DUIs, most arrests, blah blah blah.
Yep.
And so, and that's
They
why
get
I've
all
always
the
said,
overtime. They get all the overtime too. They starve them out.
yeah. And that's generally why the bad ones excel, because they're the ones out there beating up people like Mr. Bodell. And I think under normal circumstances, Mr. Bodell would have just been thrown away like the rest of the people that they deal with up here. And they didn't think, oh, there's no way that, we'll just offer him 10 years and he's
Yeah.
going to take it. You know what I mean? And luckily, PMP News ran that video on him because, like I said, it was in my own backyard, and I hadn't heard about Mr. Bodell until I ran across PMP News's thing, and I think it was almost a year old whenever I found it, and I was like, oh, whoa, wait a second, or 8 months old maybe at the time. So, and then I made contact with Robert.
Since that thing's been on the news, it's been nationwide now. Eric was up in Anchorage there yesterday, I
Hey,
think,
Becca.
and they recognized him in Walmart and in a convenience store.
Really?
Yeah, just from the news broadcast. Yeah,
Huh.
and he was just in there on the doing the drunk test.
Yeah,
And all his friends there, everybody knows saw it. They've all called him. I imagine Glenn's seen it too.
Exiled, and a couple of those guys insist that there was footage that ran of you down in the States of you being arrested, but they said they haven't been able to find it. I've been trying to get him to find it, but he insists he watched an actual video of you getting beat up.
Dad, I would love to get that.
Yeah.
It's another thing too. I'm not able to get on the internet and do all that stuff anymore.
Yeah.
is to go up on the Alaska State Trooper website, make a FOIA request for the unedited audio file of my arrest, and whatever it costs, I'd be glad to pay somebody so I can post that on my website. It's there. Mike Mason got a copy of it.
Huh. Of the
So,
unedited?
yeah, it's in one piece. It starts where my file started at. He didn't turn on his microphone at the beginning. It starts out with him calling me a liar. But what they have there is all in one piece. It has, after he talked to Eric on the phone, then it shows him still trying to get me for DUI and trying to force me to keep on answering questions after I said I didn't want to answer any more questions. And then the second piece that's edited out that's in there, it has two cops talking between themselves. One saying that I need to go to the hospital, and the other one said he just got a bloody nose.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I hadn't heard that one. I heard that on the news. I'm like, where did they get that? I
yeah.
was wondering.
See, the ambulance people wanted to take me to the hospital, but the troopers denied it, and that's why I'm dying from my brain injuries now.
So were the pre-existing brain injuries that you had aggravated and gotten worse by him beating the crap out of you?
Oh yeah, before, I mean, I was supposed to use a cane, but I'd fall down every once in a while because I didn't. Well, now it's gotten to the point now where even a walker is, I fall down using a walker now.
Oh jeez.
Yeah, I'm pretty much stuck in bed now.
Well, when they
Well, we're
beat the
gonna.
hell out of you, when they beat the
And
hell out
in
of you,
fact,
what happened to your brain was your brain was sliding back and forth within your skull, slamming on the inside of your skull.
yeah. And the other day, I have to sit in a chair with arms. The other day, I fell out of a friggin' chair just sitting in a chair because there weren't any arms on it.
Huh. Well, we're gonna
I
have to
just
figure
don't
out
know
something. We
where
got
up
a
and
long winter
down
ahead
is
of us,
now.
Robert, and I don't need them coming scooping you up. You know what I mean? Because that's going to be their next move. Is they're going to come scoop you up.
Oh, no, I ain't going nowhere.
Yeah. Well, that's what I've been kind of worried about, and I don't know how to prevent that.
I ain't gonna
Because
let
the
them.
only one that I know you got ideas, that's for sure, but you know, from my standpoint, other than because realistically, the only one that have any legal say so is your son, and he's in the States or something, right? That somewhere.
Yeah, he's down in, I mean, he's in West Virginia.
Yeah, so he's the only one that
He
can
don't
stop
talk to
any of
me
it.
anymore.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have to figure something out. You know, if we got to start this Mr. Bodell group up again, I mean, like I said, even if we get 5-6 people in here like we have now, you know, people that actually care about other people, and you know, all it takes is a couple other people to help somebody. You know what I mean? And I've always said if I hear people, you know, sit there 18 hours a day bitching about stuff, but if they just take 1 hour a day out of their time to try and change it, things might start to change, but very few people do. But with our justice system up here getting so out of control, there's an old boy that lives around the corner from me, and for almost 20 years he's always had a chocolate lab. He's gone through 3 of them. The dog always just sits out in front of his yard. Every single one of them always has. Now the friggin' animal control's running around all the time chasing him, say they're going to charge him $500 for his dog being off the leash. And it's like, it's just stupid. Just trying to
Yeah.
justify the job. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, don't worry about that up here.
no, but and that's the thing is we generally don't have an animal probably problem running around. You know, that's why Soldotna closed down. I think it was Soldotna that closed down their animal control because they don't have any problems over there, or most places in Alaska don't. Because most people, if they see a dog out chewing on a moose or something, they'll shoot them. You know,
Yeah.
and so there's not too many problems. But it's obvious they're trying to just get another agency going instead of spending more people actually helping people. They're trying to fire up another agency to police more people out of money, you know? So it's pretty crazy. Miss Di, what do you think? You're kind of in old folks arena. What do you think we could do to maybe boost some people into high gear to maybe reach out and I mean, I don't know all the ins and outs, that's for sure, of health systems or VA. I don't know anything about the VA. But
I don't know anything about the VA either because my husband only went to the VA once, and that's when he had Agent Orange on his thighs. And they told him that there was no such thing as Agent Orange, and my husband never went back. So he
yeah.
he he claimed they weren't worth a tinker's hoot.
Hey, Mr. Bodell, Joyce is asking if Eric and his wife still come by and give you a hand.
Yeah, they well that they're up in Anchorage right now. They go to Anchorage a couple of days every month. But they're about 30 minutes away, and if an emergency comes up, they come by, and they try to come by, a couple of times a week.
Patriot Defense, good to see you, brother. Long time. Glad he stopped in. I hadn't seen PD in a long time.
Yeah, I sent him a text.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I
I,
haven't seen him in quite some
I
time.
shook his shoe boots.
Yeah. So, hey, Patriot Defense, since you just got here, I just figured I'd go live. It was a little bit slow, and I've been trying to think about how to get Mr. Robert some help with the Institute of Justice or the Goldwater Institute. They weren't willing to look at him because he had criminal charges pending. But now that his criminal charges are over, it sure would be helpful if we maybe can get a little group of people together. If I have to start doing this Bodell group every day, Mondays and Fridays again, like I did, and just if we can get a couple of people just to kind of brainstorm, kick ideas around. We don't even have to do it publicly. We can do it in a private chat. That's kind of what I'm thinking, just to kind of kick the ball off, and then that way the people that want to help have a place kind of, and the other people, because it's only inefficient whenever you have somebody saying, oh, like if Joyce says, oh, I'm going to go do this. Well, if everybody else is kind of doing the same thing and she doesn't know about it, it's completely inefficient. So if we could get the people together who want to help, then have a place to meet, say, hey, on Monday, this is what we want to try and accomplish through the week. We're going to all send out emails to Institute of Justice or whatever we're going to do. And then maybe on a Friday and say, well, what happened for you during the week, and what did you find out, just to kick around ideas. And there's a little group of people can get accomplished if you have a little organization to it. And that was always my hope with the Mr. Bodell group. And in some ways it kind of succeeded, even though I was gone for a lot of it, because whenever Mr. Bodell got dropped the first one or two times, I showed back up, like got hold of NC Tyrant Hunter. He kicked it in the ass. He shook the tree a little bit because he's got a whole lot more subs than I got. That's for sure. I'm almost his size, but not quite. But anyways, you know what I mean? So there's been people like him. I mean, Big Nick's always been a big supporter in what you want to do. Anything you want to link to his page, he'll do it. So, there are people around, and with everybody being on time constraints, different time zones, things of that nature, that's why I was just thinking like a Monday and a Friday stream. You know, but like I said, it doesn't even have to be public if we don't want to. We can all just sit around on a private panel and have a chat and see if we can't help him out a little bit, because he definitely needs it. Alaska's a shitty place to be by yourself out in the middle of nowhere, man. It's not easy. So I tell you what, though,
get kind of
what's
chilly
that?
in the wintertime. Get kind of chilly in the wintertime. Be
Yeah.
by yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, it was kind of funny whenever Robert first started coming out and around. You know, of course, all these, I call them gold diggers, are thinking, oh boy, he's going to get a big chunk of change, and they're all telling Mr. Robert, you better build a new place big enough for two of us, because he lives in a little bitty tiny place. And it's kind of funny how all the gold diggers faded away. So
yeah, I need to get somebody in here to take out some shelves so I can get in there with a wheelchair or walker.
yeah, we got to do something. I don't know how to start a group text, but I'll see if I can talk to AK Lady. I think she knows how to do it, and maybe if we can get a group text together and start kicking around some ideas, and anybody that wants to get added to it, we'll just do a group text also. And like I said, like if you can't make it on a Monday or a Friday to the stream for whatever reason, or whatever we're going to do, we can send out a group text that, hey, we need to get somebody that knows VA people or VA stuff. You know, preferably if there's somebody around here that does, or I mean in state. You know, maybe kick it into high gear and maybe start getting you some help. I mean, because like I said, winter's coming fast, and I don't want to see you get snowed in, man, because you're going to be screwed if you get snowed in. So, is your generators and everything
when it
on?
snows here, we usually seldom ever get over more than about 8 or 10 inches at a time. And Eric shows up, like I say, every couple of days, and
Okay,
I have
that's
to
good.
call out there and get the generator started every day, so that's not really a problem.
Yeah, I was going to tell you, I got this brand new lawnmower motor that I think whenever it got assembled at the factory, they forgot to put a gasket in it, and it started puking oil out of it, and I literally mowed with it like 3 or 4 times, and that's it. And then I bought another one, and then I never had time to fix it because I was always gone, you know. So I just grabbed another one, and that one's been parked, and I know that's what you've been running your generator stuff with. So
Yeah.
I got another one of those, so maybe bring it out to you and you can sit there and tinker with it or something. I got several of them, that's for sure.
Well,
Plus
Jody next door, he's handy with engines.
He's what?
Jody next door, he's the guy that was my PCA for a while.
Uh-huh.
He's real handy with engines.
Oh, nice. Nice.
He used to be a mechanic.
Well, I could take my husband's urn and put it on the floor, give it a shove across the floor, let it hit the wall, and say, "Sucker, you were damn good at lawnmower engines. What's the deal?"
He cracked me up.
He could fix anything. He used to buy motorcycles in bushel baskets. You get the frame, and then somebody would take it apart and couldn't put it back together again.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And he'd just sit there and put them together. We used to take car engines apart. We'd boil the blocks and redo the valves and everything. I mean,
when I was a kid, there we used to build woods buggies and stuff down there in Florida, and well, I mean, you've seen those swamp buggies and stuff. They race and stuff, but I mean, we had stuff there that, we didn't bother jacking them up. We just waterproofed the engine so they'd run underwater, stuff like that. I mean, we'd drive out there in the sand flats out there. There'd be nothing sticking up above the water except our heads and the exhaust and the air intake.
Wow. Sounds like fun.
Oh yeah, we build all kind of machines out there, man. There's this old man, he had a welder and stuff, so yeah, he taught us how to weld and everything there. And oh yeah, we had one machine there we had, it was like articulated in the middle. It had a Volkswagen engine in the front, another one in the back,
Mm-hmm.
some big old tires on it, and it'd float.
Wow. Well, I miss spending those hours in the garage with my husband.
You know, that's the one thing I try and tell people. You can't never get back that time, can you, Miss Di? And you come to find out that time is the most valuable thing you got in the world.
That's right.
Yeah.
You
know
can't
what
buy
I mean?
you can't buy 5 seconds of it, and I don't care how much money you got.
Yeah. Absolutely crazy. But you know, it took me a lot of years to figure that out. You know what I mean? Myself.
Well, it's because you were young.
Oh yeah, we I
You
won't
never
say
knew
it,
that you never realized there was an end to the clock.
right? Boy, I do now.
Oh, yeah.
I sure get it now, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Mr. Bodell, I need to grab hold of my barber shears and come out there and clip your hair for you, man. Give you a haircut.
I sure would like it. I never had hair this long before.
Oh shit, I got a pair of shears, man. I'm not a barber by any means, but I'm what they call a slope
I
barber.
never used to wear a beard either. Just can't shave it.
Yeah, well shit, I have to put my bag together and come out there and give you a trim your ears up a little bit. I was wondering, I figured you were going back to 1970s or something whenever I seen that big freaking wild hairdo you had going. I was like, holy smokes, he is getting flat wild. Be able to braid it and put it in dreadlocks here pretty soon.
Really? Well, I used to just go there and give myself a baldy once a year, you know, and yeah, I can't do that anymore. So
Well, you know, I actually, if you don't want me to cut it, I know a barber that I know that would travel out there to do it for you because he does that
you
for
can cut
several.
it. I ain't worried about what it looks like.
He does that for several vets. So I hate having long hair and a hat though in the wintertime. I know it's counterintuitive. You would think, oh, you want long hair to stay warm in the wintertime. Well, I'm always in a hat, so I can't stand long hair
Not
under
like
a hat.
I don't go anywhere but doctor's appointments anymore.
Yeah. Well, you're probably scaring them all. They're thinking you're like freaking Charlie Manson's dad walking in or something.
I get recognized a lot.
Yeah.
Every time I go to town, I get recognized.
Did AK lady make you that jacket that says "I'm out of gas, bitch"? Yet?
No, she didn't get around to it yet.
I'm gonna have to get on her because I want to see that. I think that'd be funny.
Yeah, I
That'd
think
be
she's
awesome.
been. I think she's been had some trouble with a broken leg or something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think she's been sick or something. I can't remember what. I don't remember nothing anymore.
Oh, you're not missing much.
My whole day at the end of the day, my whole day is like an hour long.
Yeah. I'm gonna try and catch up on chat here a little bit. I wasn't looking at chat.
How old are you, Mr. Bodell?
Oh, 70. Born in May of 1949. I think it's 74, 75, something
49.
like that.
You'd be 73, I think. You'd be 70. Well, I don't know. You could be 74 if he was born in May.
May.
Yeah.
May.
I was born in June of 49, so.
So you guys are right close to the same age, right?
So I'm just a month older than you. How old are you?
I'm 73.
You're 72, I'm 73 then.
Yeah. I'll be 74 in June.
Yeah, I will be in May.
Joyce, I'm within driving distance. It'd take me a little bit to get there, but in Alaska, we tend to have a really warped opinion on what's close because I think Anchorage is close, and that's 4 hours. So, it's funny whenever I hear all these people complaining about long drives that they got to do down in the States, and they talk about 20 minutes being a long drive, and I'm like going, no, that's not a long drive.
Yeah, but sometimes in the States there, Wiley, it can take you 4 hours to move 45 minutes away because of traffic.
with traffic. Yeah, with traffic. Yeah, whenever I was down at Phoenix,
going in
Tucson,
just a quick drive into town is about who knows? Yeah, a couple hours. And that's a quick trip into town.
Yeah, right. Well, that's like for me to go caribou hunting, it's 14 hours drive, nonstop drive. I do 14 hours straight to get there,
Wow.
and people are like, you don't leave the state, and I'm like, no, you don't leave the state. But it's funny how since everybody grows up in school seeing Alaska as just this little dot out there by Hawaii, they don't really grasp the scope. And then you tell them you can like almost fit 3 state of Texases in the state of Alaska. Then they're like, holy shit. Then they kind of have an idea.
Yeah, if you cut Alaska in half, you can still put Texas inside of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I used to always mess with them roughnecks in the oil patch about that. They don't like that. I used to have a shirt that had the state of Alaska on it. It had a little bitty state of Texas in it, and it said because size does matter on it. And I used to, boy, you always you found them guys from Texas real quick with that one.
Yeah, send one of them dudes next to one of these polar bears up here, even a brown bear up here. Yeah, they'll know what big is.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is they always come up here with this attitude that they're Texas oil field. They've been there, done it, seen it all, and they're always the first ones to quit. Always, they're always the first ones to drag up and go home. Fuck this, that's too cold. And I said, "Oh yeah,
yeah." Most people that come to Alaska, even the ones that move into the city, they only make it 2 years.
Right. Yeah,
Most
that's why
you don't make it up here.
No, and then the size. What I think state population just now finally broke 700,000 people, and that's not even the size of. I mean, Lady Di, I think Tucson's 3-4 million people, isn't it?
Yeah, the entire
if not more than that. So it's not even the size of most towns, in the States, population wise.
The little area that I was living there in Texas was about 1 million people, and it was rural.
Yeah.
Tucson is full of burbs, though. It's like Chicago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, my mailing address is Tucson, but that's not the town I live in.
Well, last time I drove out of Phoenix. What's that little town outside of Phoenix up towards the mountains? It used to be like an hour and a half drive out of Phoenix. And then the last time I drove that going to see my dad, I never the city didn't ever end. What was that? It started with an S. I'll think of it here in just a second. But yeah, I was like, man, when's Phoenix stop? And it's like, holy smokes, it's growing up. Gotten big.
Come down out of the Rockies, you hit a little bitty one-bird dog town, and then you drive a few more miles, maybe 30, 45 minutes, and boom, I mean, you're at a huge freaking town. And then you go into Phoenix. So
yeah. What is that? What is that town? I'm trying to think about it. I'll think of it here in a minute. It's been forever.
Yeah, about 3 in the morning, you'll think of it.
Yeah, right. Oh, is that Swammy? Swammy showed up?
Yeah.
Hey, Swammy, what's happening, man? I didn't know Swammy was in here. I didn't see you, Swammy. I wasn't really watching chat that close. Thanks for stopping by, man.
We've been in here for a while.
Yeah, so if anybody comes up in the back, just let me know that you're coming up in the back. The link is pinned up at the top, so if anybody wants to come up, you're more than welcome to. Let me see. Yeah, I didn't see Swammy there. I'll give you a wrench, Swammy.
Yeah, now you can beat yourself in the head, Swammy.
With all 9 fingers.
Yep.
Yeah. And no, Swammy, I wasn't picking on you with Rick yesterday. You're just being a little bit loud. And I was getting a lot of complaints from Chad about it. So that's why I was cutting your mic. Plus, you're blowing out my ears, man. You got that foghorn leghorn voice.
Joyce McDermott says 743 million miles. Wow.
Oh, really? Is that the size of it?
Yeah, not acres, miles.
Yeah.
Or not
Yeah,
miles,
crazy.
acres. I just read it backwards. Not miles, acres.
Whew. Yeah, well, that's why I'm a little bit miffed about our drinking water, because if they had a frack job that went bad, they don't need to be fracking around the town. There's plenty of oil reserves in this state that they don't need to be doing that shit to our drinking water. So they just need to do that in places that not going to hurt anyone.
Look at there what Joyce McDermott, what she wrote, bought for 0.039 an acre.
Yeah, it was only like $7.5 million or something as they paid for it off the Russians. Like $7 million or something is all it was paid for.
Yeah.
Now there's places you can't even buy a lot for that in some of the places. It's crazy. Yeah, it's definitely but we got a lot of resources up here, that's for sure. People talking, oh, Russia's going to take it back, and I'm like, no, you don't. No, Russia's never taken back Alaska. It's got the biggest gas, oil, gold, coal reserves in the United States, and I think it's the third largest in the world. Russia's never getting Alaska back. Obama may have gave them a portion of it back, but they're not getting it back. So, did you know that
had a little bit of imagination to come up here? I mean, there's just no end of opportunities up here.
Right.
Everywhere I look, there's money making opportunities you can walk into with no money, man, and just start doing it.
Right. But it's a young man's sport, you know what I mean? Or if you get an older guy that has a brain and a couple of young guys with strong backs, because there's lots of things that I want to do, but finding somebody that's capable of doing it, because I can't do that anymore. I've really been wanting to put up a log mill in my backyard and start sawing logs, but just don't have the back for that anymore.
Yeah.
But especially with as expensive as timber is, and we had all those fires. We got lots of wood around right now. Lots.
Well, right around this area here, lumber trees are kind of thin. It's mostly firewood stuff. They're all pretty small.
Yeah. Well, like out where you're at, I think it was that there was a fire that went through there, and a big fire that went through in '64 that went through that area. And so, and then of course, then you have the trees that are stunted for growth, that black spruce that don't never get big. But
it's real wet around here, so nothing really gets big.
The old boy that I used to commercial fish for, he told me back in the early 1900s that the peninsula was covered in this stuff. What is that? It's like that timber that they have in the southeast, that great big timber that has what is it called? I think it's like sycamore or something. Like, no, it's not sycamore. It starts with an S, but it's a real big timber. And he said back in the early 1900s, that's what it was all covered with back then. And then most of that all started to die off, burn off, and that's kind of where we're at now with all this other black spruce.
No, somebody had a organization had access to the money that it would take to do it. They could buy different types of trees and plant them, and it's going to take years for them to develop, but they're sitting on a gold mine.
Yeah,
The
well,
black
I had some property at one time, Lady Di, and that's what I was going to do. Is there's a sugar pine up here, and there's a couple of pecans there's a Russian breed of pecan that'll grow in this climate, and I was going to put pecan and sugar pine on it, and I was going because sugar pine you can overturn every, I think it's 15, 18 years, and that would have been a hell of a moneymaker, but I just never got around to it, couldn't get it done, so. And then ended up selling it. So, but yeah, that thought had crossed my mind too. It'd be a hell of a place to do some renewable tracks. That's for sure. There's lots of area to do it. And see, well, thank you for stopping in, buddy. I really appreciate you coming by. And hopefully you're subscribed to this one. I don't know if you were or weren't. I know this has kind of always just been my little channel. And I was mainly streaming on 𝐢𝐬𝐧'𝐭 and then piping it over here too. And I was trying to get people moved over here, but not too many people did. So, but that's kind of where I'm going to just start going with the Mr. Bodell group. I'm going to have to fire that back up again. I can see, hey, Gomez. So I appreciate you coming in, NC. It was really good seeing you. And I'll be in touch with you, man, and I'll let you know. And if you got any of your like sub base that would be interested in helping Mr. Bodell out, or want to volunteer some time, or maybe interested in the Bodell group, tell them hit me up or come on over and check it out. Man, if I just got like 1% of your sub base over here, I'd be all kinds of happy. So,
well, you could throw a few my way too, there, NC Tyrant Hunter.
right? Yeah, I haven't looked at his numbers. I don't know how big he is anymore. I think he's getting pretty big he's a big fish now.
Yeah.
So it's sure is amazing.
I said a while back, if he ever knew what I used to do, I don't think he'd want to even talk to me.
Right?
Yep.
He'd probably be more inclined to send you a double flip-off shirt, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Detective Gomez. Thanks for stopping by. Oh, you got a wrench.
Well, I know one thing. Not many people, after they go, you can type their name into Google or YouTube and come up with what I come up with.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron, if you want to come up, you're more than welcome to come hang out for a little bit. I was just running a stream, just figured we'd come on and chat for a little bit, get an update from Mr. Bodell, give him some company, and see if we can maybe start formulating some sort of idea or plan to maybe kind of help him through the rest of his deal, because now that the charges are dropped, I don't want to see it drop, because I think it's important. I think it's extremely important his case move forward, because they're just still trying to sell it as, oh, you had a bottle of whiskey, Mr. Bodell. How dare you? You used foul language. Well, fuck. Imagine if they would have ever met Eric Brandt.
Oh, yeah.
He would have taught him things. Yeah, good night, NC. Thanks a lot for stopping in, buddy.
Heck, I never had a chance to get pissed off.
Right.
I mean, I could have really nailed some shit to him. The F-bomb, that's just everyday talking there.
Yep.
They didn't give me a chance to get riled up.
Yeah, I remember sending it to you, but before I did that, if I figured if you ever found out, that's why I sent it to you, so you had the opportunity to make a decision whether you wanted to talk to me or not.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you kept that fairly quiet for a lot of years, but 10 years ago, that whole 1A had a, a quite stauncher stance. There wasn't a lot more people that were out there that, it was 10 years ago, it was fuck every single one. They didn't care. And now there's kind of a division between, it's kind of like myself personally. I don't think every single one's bad, but I don't think they're exactly doing good either by not pointing out the bad ones. But I don't
Yeah.
think everyone's bad. You know what I mean? It's just like there's good auditors out there and there's bad auditors out there. And, it's like, I've talked to NC. I don't completely agree with every single thing he does, but I absolutely agree with his right to do it. That's for sure. And I like what he does on his channel, man. He at least gets people's brains thinking. So, and that's the
Yeah,
same thing way I was with Eric.
I could never ever be a 1A auditor. There's no way. I just
Right.
couldn't do it. And I'm not putting anybody down that does. I'm just saying I couldn't do it.
It's definitely not for everybody. That's for sure.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it really cracks me up whenever I hear people make statements like, "You ain't got the fucking balls to go out there, and I'll give you $1,000." Make statements like that, and he has no fucking earthly idea how many people behind the scenes help people like him. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And it's just like whenever he got that $4,000, whenever he very first got arrested, that he says he never got, because he did it all by himself, and I don't think he realized where some of that, or maybe just don't care where that help came from. You know what I mean? So, and I get it. I completely get it, Lady Di, because I've been around the auditors long enough, and I try and tell people whenever I'm helping them with their channel, just because you're good on camera doesn't mean that you're going to be good with a computer. I think NC Tyrant Hunter would be the first one to tell you that he's not good with, shit like that. But he's good in front of a camera, and I love his wit, man, and not everybody has that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, the
So-
end result is what counts.
Yeah. But kind of learning what your deficiencies are and learning how to kind of mitigate that is, that's what's made people like NC Tyrant Hunter, Big Nick, and other of those guys that's gotten really successful or big, is because they realize they have a deficiency in this area, and they don't mind taking advice from somebody that knows something else. You know what I mean? And whenever you have a closed-minded opinion in anything you do, you generally aren't going to be a very successful person. You know what I mean? Just in anything. And I've seen that around oil patch and timber and fishing the same. So,
Well, there's good and bad in every walk of life. I don't care if you're talking to 1A auditors, you're talking doctors, you're talking psychiatrists, I don't care what you're talking. There's good and bad in every walk of life.
Yes, ma'am.
I just never happen to have been a bad one.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's for sure. And that's, I don't know why. I mean, and I get it. It's like I had a discussion with somebody the other day, and apparently they didn't think that something I was hung up on was meant all that much. And I said, it's kind of comes down to individual choice and opinion. I said, just like what I want to eat doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to be able to tell you what you're hungry for. You know what I mean? That's, you can't pick out what's good for everybody, kind of thing. So, and that's the fine line that a lot of people failed to recognize that they're crossing is, they think it should only be one way, and it's not always that way. I mean, like some of the best ideas that we've ever implemented in the oil patch has been from what we call a green hat, or a green guy walking in that generally had no oil field experience at all. and he'd look at something and say, well, why don't we do it like this? And you got to be smart enough to recognize and sit back and say, that might be a good idea. Let's take a look at that. But the old oil field patch, or the old attitude was, because we've been doing it this way for 100 fucking years. Well, that doesn't fly. It's not efficient.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So, and it's being able to recognize good ideas whenever something comes across the table, to reach out and grab it.
I've always lived in a lot of different environments in my life, and somebody gave me some good advice one time that's always paid off. As when you go someplace, is learn how to do it like the locals do it before you try to improve on it, because they usually got it right. And that always works out pretty good. There's a few things that I did different up here, but I read how they do it up here first, before I've improved on it.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Well, one of my expertise was explosives in the oil patch, and one of the very first things I learned whenever I broke out green is all that shit that they try and teach you in textbooks didn't mean anything. And the very first thing I encountered was the engineer saying, well, that's not how the book says it. And I'm like, well, that book wasn't fucking written in Alaska, was it? It was written in Oklahoma and Texas. Oklahoma and Texas isn't 45 below. You know what I mean? So, and I said, sorry, but I'll listen to the guy who trained me, who's got 60 years in the field. I mean, that's kind of the way I went by. And that's, not to say that all of it is garbage that they try and put you in the textbooks, but you got to be smart enough to kind of discern that, what may or may not be relevant, because there's a lot of shit you can do in life, get yourself killed real quick. Just driving a car. You know what I mean?
I always try to tell people, that everything here is different. I mean, absolutely. I hadn't seen paper balance in 30 years till I come up here. I've never seen a bar with a laundromat and showers in it till I came up here.
Yeah, Alaska's definitely a different place. I laugh because it's like everywhere you got a bar, you got a church right across the street, and there's tons of them.
Yeah.
I mean, just wherever there's a bar, there's a church. It's funny. So, yeah, it's
another
definitely
thing too up here. I mean, even the homeless, have a place to live, and there's not too many of them that live in tents.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Bodell, were you aware I took in a homeless veteran here a few years ago? I don't know if you knew that or not. I took in this guy that was 65 and he was homeless. He was a Marine, and things went sideways after a while living with me. And one of my buddies came up from the States and went ahead and told him it was time to go on his way. And he ended up losing both of his legs because he fell asleep under a bridge.
Wow.
Yeah. And he frostbit both of his feet to the point where they ended up having to cut off both of his legs. So, but
I've never had a problem finding a place to live. I mean, hell, when I was 12, I bought a boat and moved in on that.
Right.
I mean, you can pick up an old car and douche it down with a coat of spray foam, and you can be nice and warm in it. Park that thing out in the woods someplace, you be nice and toasty there. There's no reason to be in that position.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to, that's for sure. I met a guy, I was out logging and I was walking to the trees, and all of a sudden I run across this. It almost looked like a little Quonset hut, but it had a different shape than a Quonset hut. So it wasn't actually an old school Quonset hut, but it was probably only about 14 feet long. And I'm like, what the hell is this thing doing out here? And I walked around the corner because it was on one of the tracks we were supposed to log. And I flipped open the latch on it to see what was inside, man. And it was a beautiful little cabin inside. I mean, just immaculate. And there was a note laying on the table. It said, "Gone for grub, be back in a little bit." So the next couple of days I stopped by and I finally caught the guy, and I'm like, "Man, what?" I said, "What are you doing out here?" And he said, "Well," he says, "I was homeless." And he said, "I finally said, screw living in a city, came out here and built myself a place." And I said, "Well, you might want to think about moving because we're going to get ready to cut all this shit down around you." He's like,
Wow.
"Oh man." But yeah, he had himself a nice little thing going. He had running the trap line and everything else, you know, and he was living good. So, yeah, I thought it was pretty funny though, and I asked him how long he had been out, and he had said he had been out almost 14 years. So, or 14 or 15 years, I think he said. And I said, "In the same spot?" And he said, "No." He says, "I've had to move a couple of times." And I was
Well,
like,
I
"Well,
understand that they found happened flying around with an airplane and seen some smoke come up there, just out past Kenai out there someplace, and they went out to check it out, and there's some guy having a little log cabin built out there. Been living there for like 20, 30 years out there on government land.
nobody knew about it."
Yeah. They
Yeah.
come by and tell me you gotta leave. Next day, why, there's another fire there and nothing left but ashes.
Huh. Yeah. Well, I got that old cabin that I had that was built back in the 30s, and a lot of people wanted to buy that so they could move it out to government land
Yeah.
because it looks aged, and so some of those cabins that are out on that land can't actually be removed, right? And
Yeah.
so their plan was is they were going to go Linko log this thing and put it back in place out in the middle of nowhere, and then that way, if they're told it had to be moved, they could say it had been there 100 years, you know, since it looks the part. And I'm like, "Well, that's a good idea, but no, that's not what's going to happen with this one." So
Yeah. Well, this one here, you ever seen this place?
no, I've seen outside from the cameras, some couple of camera work you've done, but
Yeah,
I
it's
haven't. I
just
have not been out.
it's one room. It's 10 by 14 on the inside.
By 14.
It's about 6 by 10 or yeah, maybe 6 by 10 walking space. It's like one room. I got like a foot of insulation in the walls and a foot and a half insulation in the ceiling and floors.
Did you use glass or blow in on the insulation on the walls, or I mean on the
I
floor?
used to blow in stuff in there. I wouldn't use it again. I mean, it works great, you know, but I doubt I'd use it again. I think I'd just go with the fiberglass next time.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people don't realize most of the homesteader cabins up here were either 10 to 12 feet wide and 16 foot long. That was as big as a homestead cabin was.
Yeah.
And then some of those people raised rather large families in that little bitty space, and most people now, hell, my bedroom I'm laying in is probably bigger than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so a lot of people can't even comprehend living in something that small. You know?
Yeah, this place here, I mean, it's you get more than 4 people in there, you know, we're kind of looking for somebody's got to
Get
sit
a little
on
tight.
the bed.
Yeah, get a little tight.
Yeah,
Well, that's where we
I can
always
sit
go up a
3 and
story.
you're okay.
How tall are the walls in that place?
I only made the ceiling at 7 feet because I didn't want to waste heat, you know, space that I didn't use.
Yeah.
And then I've got about a 5.5 foot doorway in it, you know, to keep some heat in when I open the door.
There used to be a native guy that they called Indian Joe around the peninsula. Whenever I first moved up here 30 years ago, he was still around, but he was an old guy. And he built several houses, and he took me around and showed me a bunch of houses he built. And most of them, whenever you walk into them, none of them have a 6-foot tall ceiling in them. I mean, most of them are even
Yeah.
shorter than that because he was so short. And that was the very first thing I asked him, as being green to Alaska, is why did you build it so short? And he said, real easy, less space to heat. And he absolutely had a point. I mean, what do you need a freaking 10-foot wall for? You know what I mean?
Well, not only that, when you heat, all the
Mhm.
hot air goes up and collects up there in that top
Yep.
of there in the ceiling.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, thank you, Peachy. I appreciate you stopping in. She says she just cleaning the kitchen and watching. She got baby goats and all this stuff. Robert, you ought to check her out. She
Oh,
doesn't
wow.
go live much, but she's got a bunch of goats and stuff, and I'm hoping she'll send me a couple.
I seen a guy on YouTube there. He's got several goats there. He don't have them on a leash or anything. They're all trained. One of them pulls like a little small covered wagon, or two of them do, and the others they just carry packs on their backs, and he just travels around overland, just cruises around.
Yes, I don't. My kids have been trying to get me to get a couple of goats for years, and I don't want a big goat. And Peachy has some small ones, but imagine you get a big goat that's 130 pounds. I imagine he's got to be a hell of a strong animal. I mean,
Well, the thing is, to get them when they're babies, all my animals that I've ever had, I always got them like the day they were weaned. You could train them in like 20 minutes, everything they need to know.
yeah.
All my animals been like that.
You have to check out Peachy's live streams then, or check out her channel sometime. Somebody maybe post Peachy's link in there so you can find her. She lives on a little bitty farm, and she got quite a bit of animals on her farm. It's pretty cool little spot she's got. So Peachy used to be she's in chat. And how long would you say Peachy was really active, Miss Di? Like 4 years ago or so?
Oh yeah, about.
Yeah, she started covering like the riots and shit down in Atlanta. She was around a little bit prior to that, but she started covering the riots and stuff over there in Atlanta and stuff in Georgia. And boy, she started blowing up quick, but she just kind of got burned out on it all and went and did her own thing. So she's found herself a little piece of heaven on a quiet little farm. So, but she would have been listed as one of the grandmas of the 1A kind of thing. She hadn't been around as long as some, but she was definitely making waves. That's for sure.
Yeah.
She was making waves. She would have been the biggest, that's for sure. The biggest gal in the 1A if she would have kept up. But anyhow, what do you think, Mr. Bodell? You think we ought to try and fire up that Bodell group a little while for like Mondays and Fridays, and see if we can't maybe get a couple people come sit around, maybe brainstorm and maybe kick some
got all
ideas
the time
around.
in the world.
All right. Well, then maybe that's what we'll do. I'm coming into winter, so we're going to hit snow here anytime. So after that, I'm going to have nothing but time for inside. So sounds like a plan. Lady Di, is Swammy coming up? He said he was coming up, but then he disappeared. So I don't know if he had phone issues or
I don't know. What. I don't see him in the chat anymore.
Yeah, I wasn't going to plan on leaving this stream for a long live stream. I was going to try and save my time on this one so I don't burn up the time. Because if I start doing hour and a half, 2 hour stream twice a week, I'll burn up that time on here pretty quick.
Yeah.
But I figured I'd hang out in case Slammy wanted to come up and talk a bit. So, and Mr. Bodell, Joyce was down in chat. She says you got her number, and for me to get her number from you, and she said she'd be willing to sit down and brainstorm a little bit or figure out what we can do. And like I said, if we gotta
text me and ask for it.
I will.
Okay.
That's for sure. But is there anything particular you're needing to happen now?
Oh, well, I really need somebody to talk with all my doctors and stuff and keep track of doctor's appointments and stuff. You know, that's probably the biggest thing now.
Are you running Microsoft you got Microsoft Windows or anything going, or did you just get a netbook?
No, I've got Windows and a netbook.
Okay, because I know they're doing a lot of that stuff digitally now, so you can track all your appointments and stuff online, and it can just be a matter of getting that kind of choreographed with your office calendar, and it'll pop up a little reminder there on your computer and stuff, and start helping you since your memory's sliding. That might be a way to approach that, because that's kind of what I've been doing.
Yeah, I got as much as I can, you know. I mean, yeah, it's the point now where, you know, I can look at something, by the time I pull up an app to write it down on, you know, I'll forget what I'm even looking for the app for. You know, it's just, yeah, my alarm goes off for my pills, and half the time I'll forget what I'm looking for before I find my pills and why I'm looking for them. Yeah,
well, there is an
my
old
mind works at about 30
ahead.
seconds behind, and that's about it.
Well, there's a thing that the hospital can do for you, and I'm pretty sure the VA can do it. There was an old boy that I was helping out for several years that just passed away here last fall. And what they did for him is they gave him all of his medication, and they're like in these, you know, it looks like that bubble wrap, but it's just, you know, you get this data bubble wrap, and it has your day pills packaged in one little bubble. And so whenever your alarm go off, you could just crack that thing open and grab your pills for, you know, the morning or the evening or whatever. So I'm not exactly sure what we have to do to get that started, but I know that option is out there, and that was really handy.
If the VA is involved in my medications, the way it goes, they won't take a refill until about 2 or 3 days before I'm out. And by the time they refill it, put it in the mail, and it gets to me, it's 2 weeks.
Too late. Yeah, exactly.
You know, so I just totally have to do without for almost 2 weeks.
So they're still
one of the
mailing the VA stuff from out of state, right?
You know, Kate is for it's not for my blood pressure, but it keeps my blood pressure down to normal. You know, without that, when they cut my blood pressure in half, I was up to like 192 to 200 on my blood pressure. That was just cutting in half. So if I do without it altogether, I'm going to have a stroke.
Yeah.
Well, you'd think if it takes 2 weeks to get the meds to you, you should be able to order it from them 2 weeks prior to it being due.
Nah, I can only order it like a couple of days before. And then they only send me 10 days worth.
Jesus.
Yeah, my next door neighbor was on VAs and all of his shit. I never could understand why he had to order all of his stuff came in from out of state. I never could quite understand that. So
yeah, it is another thing too. Like like one of the meds they tried to give me the other day. You know, the VA wouldn't pay for it, and that was like $100 a week. I can't afford that, so I couldn't get it.
Yeah. Well, didn't they pass some sort of law though that being on the VA now that you don't have to use a VA doctor if you don't want to? You can use a doctor of your choosing or something.
Yeah, it's well, I don't know what they call it now. When I signed for it, it was called the choice program.
Uh-huh.
And you basically use civilian doctors that are approved by the VA, not any civilian doctor, but a lot of civilian doctors are. They're usually second grade doctors that'll work cheap because the VA don't pay much.
Gotcha.
And what they do is they pay for the doctor's visits, stuff like that. They'll pay for my medications. Or no, they don't pay for my medication. I have to pay for the medications all myself. The pharmacist was good enough to put some kind of a card in my account there, some kind of a discount card, but I'm still paying about $400 or $500 a month for meds. I'm taking like about 8 pills at night, and then again for 6 or 7 in the morning, and then 2 more in the middle of the day. So,
well, we'll take a look at it. I'm just gonna have to start calling you. I know I told you I was gonna call you here for the last 2 days and didn't.
yeah.
So I'm just gonna have to set a freaking alarm. I've been so tied up with my own hospital stuff. I got some back problems and they're trying to operate on me again, blah, blah, blah. They do it every year, jump through a whole bunch of hoops, and then they don't do it. So I've been jumping through the hoops. They do it every single fall time. I don't know why. It must have something to do with expenditures. So, but
Well, the last little thing I went through here was every time I go through these episodes, why everything changes. And since the last one, my sleeping pills have been working pretty good. So I usually sleep about midnight to around 8 o'clock in the morning in Alaska time.
gotcha.
And you know, I mean, I'm right here in bed, so anytime after 8 o'clock is good.
Well, we'll have to sit down and start brainstorming. Like I said, if we can just get a couple of people that come in and we don't even have to chat publicly. We can do a private stream.
Sure.
And maybe just start brainstorming a few ideas and try and keep you on track that way, since you're a little bit more remote, and do it that way. We'll figure it out. I'll just start firing up those Bodell group notifications again, and
works for me.
see if we can start doing that on Mondays. Though I'll probably have to do like a morning stream, which probably won't be bad either, because there's not too many people doing a whole lot. Like, let's say, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning on Eastern time. And that would be, 12, 1 o'clock, or what? 8, 9 o'clock in the morning Western is going to be 12, 1 o'clock Eastern. So it might be like daytime, which might not be a bad idea, because a lot of folks aren't, they're all early risers anyways once you start getting up in our older age.
Yeah.
So might not be a bad thing to do. And then that way everybody can go watch these drama panels and shit that everybody's into. So
up a little bit.
Yeah, the Jerry Springer shit of YouTube, I tell you, man, people absolutely gobble that stuff up.
Well, ain't no kidding.
One of the local newspaper reporters back when I was young, back in my 20s, he used to call me the shit disturber.
Shit disturber.
I used to write letters to the editor, and at one point there, I didn't have anything to write, So he called me on the phone. And he says, "Hey man, we're going to press in an hour. We need your letter to the editor before we can go to press." So I had to hurry up and write something and drive it up the island to him.
That's funny. All right. Well, I'm going to get out of here. Lady Di, why don't you hang around just for a minute? I'm going to end this live stream.
All right.
And folks, whoever's left, and Robert, hang around for a minute, and then that way we can chat in the back. And guys, look for that Bodell group. Thank you guys for coming in. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry that probably notifications didn't go out in time because it generally takes about 24 hours for good notifications to go out, but I see a few of them may have. So what I'll try and do is I'll try and fire them up so they have 24 hours notification next time. So thank you guys for coming in, and look for the Bodell group meeting again. You guys have a good day.